Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Gentlemen, ladies, theybians, just as we all predicted, the Leafs have forced Game 7, actually winning, stealing a two-goal game against the Florida Panthers in Florida. Joseph Woll with his first career playoff shutout to force Game 7 against the Florida Panthers, who had all of the momentum coming into this game. And just like we all predicted, boys. My name is Lauren. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. On this side of the screen, we have Zach. On this side of the screen, we have Dominic. And of course, like I said, my name is Lauren. Before we get going, if you could just hit like and subscribe. It's free. It really helps the channel. And we are excited for you to be here. And we will be... What a great start to the long weekend.
Oh, yeah. The best possible start. Best possible start. And it will continue strongly through Sunday. That is what I'm going to be screaming at every opportunity between now and... Do we know what time the game starts on Sunday? Or are they going to change it like they changed this one?
If it's 8 Eastern again, I'm going to kill someone.
I at least it's Monday. At least Monday is a holiday. So,
Yes.
it's more acceptable than it would be on a normal weekend. But I agree, just in principle, I don't want another 8 p.m. start. But if they win... then play all the games at 8. I don't care. Start them all at 8. If that's the trick.
The game at 2 in the morning. As long as they win, I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, you guys know when I was in Japan, the games were on at 8 o'clock in the morning. That was great. If that's what it takes, do that. I'll take it.
Hey, we've got Australian followers that follow our shows,
True.
so hey, maybe we
Exactly.
do them a favor.
Exactly.
Yeah, they can have their Cheerios after celebrating an Eastern Conference Final advancement of one of these two teams, because that's what it'll be, and it's exciting. And just Zach, right before we went live, had the kindness to say, we all knew that this was going to happen, right? Like, is anybody surprised here? And I don't think any of us are. I mean, if you're watching this, you're obviously an avid Leaf fan, and that's great, and we're happy to have you and everything else. And my wedding anniversary is on Sunday, and they're either going to give me a great big gift or they're going to make me very angry at the very end of the day, right? So they have a prolificence for the dramatics.
That they do. I mean, that was... Everybody had that feeling coming into this game, right? Of... We've seen them do this before, where they look to be down and out. They come back, they force Game 7, and... the classic narrative is they then lose Game 7. And it's now incumbent on this iteration of the team to break that narrative, break the pattern, break the streak, let it be something else. That's now their task. That is now their sole objective for the next 48, 44, however many hours between now and puck drop, or not even puck drop, the final horn of Game 7.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest, guys. Did you think a Leafs series versus Brad Marchand was going to end any other way? It had to be this way.
It has to be dramatic.
And we knew also, if the Leafs are going to go on a deep playoff run, they were going to confront this at some point. Before the series, my series prediction, I said my realistic pick was Panthers in 6. My Leaf brain pick was Leafs in 7. Well, Panthers in 6 is out the window now. All that remains is the Leaf brain. But more importantly, this is like the final hurdle so far for this Leafs core to prove that they are in fact different. We have heard all season, they're different. We saw in the first round, they were different. They actually closed out a series and looked like the better team, and they deserved to win a series for once. And then they start this series, and they're on fire up 2-0. And then all the old narratives have come back over the last 3 games. So now the Leafs have done their job. This was the legacy game, right, that we talked about. Matthews and Marner.
Yep.
You got to secure, Marner especially, how do you want to be remembered as a Leaf?
Yep.
Well, now he is going to have at least one more game in Scotiabank Arena. And now the funny thing is, today was a legacy game for them. And all they did was secure another legacy game where everything
one
is
more,
on the
yeah.
line. Everything to gain, everything to lose. And, we'll talk about players specifically, but for Mitch Marner specifically, how do you want to be remembered as a Leaf? Because if you lose, that's how you're going to be remembered. And if you win, you have everything in front of you for the taking.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's just it. It's maybe the biggest opportunity for Mitch in his career so far, right? The last several games, this whole series, he's just been lighting millions of dollars on fire. And tonight he ends up assisting on the game-winning goal, which is wonderful, and it's by Auston Matthews. And neither of those players have played particularly well this series in terms of offense. They've played very well defensively. Sure, we'll give them that. But this whole time we've been screaming and yelling, but the big guys have to score. And tonight they did.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of game 5, the heat was on Auston. It was on Mitch. And to a certain degree, it was on Joe Woll because he allowed 5 goals. Most of them not his fault, but anytime you're a goalie and you allow 5 goals, I feel like you take that on. Those shots of him on the bench after he got pulled were heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He looked so very, very sad. And so all 3 of them come out in this game. Matthews gets the goal. Marner gets the assist. Woll gets the shutout. They all came back and delivered in this game. However, as you said, Zach, all it did was buy them one more chance at this.
Yeah, and look, I think we have to acknowledge something for a moment here. Because maybe you're going to be the one that saves me. Because after all, you're my Joseph Woll. What a bounce back for Joseph Woll.
Yeah.
Man, we should be fair. Not the most challenging shutout in the world. It was very akin to the Linus Ullmark and Bobrovsky shutouts that have happened against the Leafs these playoffs, where, they got a shutout, but it didn't really require that much effort. Woll made a couple of really nice saves in this game, but the Leafs they out-Panthers the Panthers. Like, they played the Florida style perfectly of like getting a decent amount of shots on goal, but they just didn't give up any quality. They were getting in on the forecheck to waste time at the end, and more importantly, they didn't allow a ton of quality chances.
Mm-hmm. The telling moment, the moment I realized, okay, yeah, they're going to win this game. It was late in the game because you're on the back of your Leafs mind, you're always thinking about the late period collapse. But the moment I realized they were going to win that game was when the Panthers got the late power play. And the Leafs iced it about 7 times. Just the Panthers would come in, the Leafs would get it, they would ice it. The Panthers would come back in, the Leafs would get it, they would ice it. And they did that over and over and over again because that is usually what happens to the Maple Leafs. That's usually what happens. They get that power play where you think, this is it, this is the chance. And then the first unit, the second unit, if there was a third unit, none of them could make anything happen. That's how it usually happens. And that they did it to the Panthers for once. And that was the moment when, okay, maybe there'll be a speed wobble here towards the end. Maybe it won't be a shutout, but they are going to win this game. And in the end, there was no speed wobble. It was a shutout, and they won the game.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
It's beautiful.
What a great way to start the weekend, boys. Oh, man. It's just beautiful. Go
You know
Leafs,
what?
go, baby. Go Leafs, go.
The other thing is, this is retribution for Game 6 last year, where Joseph Woll, he gets a shutout until there's 0.1 seconds left. Like, the game is over, and the Bruins tuck one in at the end, and he gets hurt. So now... Here's the exciting thing. I swear to God, if I jinx this, I'm going to kill someone. But Joseph Woll, we are going to see Game 7 Joseph Woll for the first time. And, hey, I know he's not a rookie, but Craig Berube, once upon a time, with a young goaltender, did some great things. And also, speaking of that St. Louis team in 2019, we should also acknowledge that in the first round, the 2019 Blues went up 2-0 on a Canadian team and won that first round series in 6 games. They then went into their second round series against a team with no state income tax. They were down 3-2. They won Game 6, and then they went on to win Game 7 in double overtime. That would be stressful, but I'm just saying, the parallels exist.
If they win, man, I'll stay up as late as it has to if it goes to double overtime and they win. If that happens and then they lose, I'll be ticked.
Yeah.
Who's our Pat Maroon? Is it Stevie Lawrence?
Yes.
Lawrence double overtime
I hope
goal?
so. Oh, beauty. No, Nick Robertson after a healthy scratch.
Nick Robertson, bring him back in.
You
There
think
were-
Maybe
there
Max
Vancouver is changing
Pacioretty.
this lineup?
Maybe Max Pacioretty, man. Like, let's look at the
Unk.
fact that he got the series winner against the Sens, and then tonight he gets the insurance goal to make sure that the Leafs fight back for Game 7.
Yeah, he's been the guy in the big moments when you need someone to step up. It has been, and I've said this before, the former captain of the Montreal Canadiens who wears number 67. That is who has been the Leafs savior time and time again these playoffs. And he did it again tonight.
Uncle Patches, baby. Finally, a veteran that this is the new age Jason Spezza, I guess, because the Leafs have had so many veterans that were interesting. I will never forgive the Joe Thornton signing for what that did to this team. But Max Pacioretty, a lot more like Jason Spezza, where it's like, look, is he the player he was in his prime? No, of course not. But he's reinvented himself, and I've said it multiple times these playoffs where he is the king of being mostly mid for the entire game, but he'll have one or two big moments a game that lead to scoring chances, sometimes goals. He is now up to 8 points in 10 playoff games this year. Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. And he, even throughout the game, that even when they weren't scoring, Patches was throwing hits like crazy. No one was safe on the ice when he was on. It was so good to see. Because that was my biggest complaint. I watched the games earlier this week and everything, and not only did the Leafs, not score any goals when they needed to, they didn't play physical in a way that was purposeful at all. If you're losing, at least punch someone in the face. All of this crap flying around about all of our stars. No, I just mean in scrums and everything. When other people are doing it, come on.
Not Max Domi. Don't be a Domi.
Would anybody be upset or would anybody be talking about Mitch Marner the way that they are this past week if he punched Brad Marchand in the face?
No,
you know what I mean?
And you know what?
That's such a.
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds, and it would make a difference because it shows that you give a damn. And tonight they played they did. They looked so purposeful.
To that point, Terry M. And this is a point that we should have hammered on this point.
Also, Terry, you're back. I see.
Simone mother-loving Benoit, who has just been laying big hit after big hit. There was a play he leveled Marchand in this game, and there was another play. I forget who the Panthers player was, but it was a 3-on-2 rush, and the Panthers player is trying to feed it through, and Benoit blows him up, and just gets it out. He also had an end-to-end rush that he dangled 3 or 4 people on. It didn't lead to anything, but that was Benny he had a really bad penalty early on, but man, a few games in a row, whenever you need a big hit from the back end, he's been the guy. Big Ben.
Benoit for Conn Smythe. I'm convinced.
I mean, shit, he had a game winner. He assisted on a game winner against the Sens. If he ends up getting a series winner, come on.
Whoever gets
who has a better story than Big Benny?
Yeah. Whoever
breaks whoever breaks the Game 7 curse gets a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just automatically, they'll be out there on Monday carving the statue into Legends Row. Just whoever it is, Callie Yarncroc. Okay, here we go. All right.
He was fine tonight.
He had some
He's
moments.
better than Pontus Holmberg.
There's so many guys that are fine, and then you look and it's 0 goals these playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's 5 in the bottom 6? Lawton, Lorentz, Yarncroc, Holmberg, McMahon.
See,
at some point, someone has to score.
Yeah. Now, of those guys, I do think Lorentz and Lawton have played the best in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
They've been aggressive. They've even had moments where they look dangerous. I mean, Lawton rung one off the post in the last game, and there were a couple of moments here where he looked a little dangerous. I kind of feel like he might be, if the Leafs keep moving, keep things moving, he might be due for one soon.
Yep.
There's those two have really been providing what they need to, with the exception of goals. And then you put Yarncroc or Camp for Holmberg or somebody with them, and hope for the best.
Yeah. Music for Al in the chat. 7:30 game on Sunday. Appreciate you, Al.
7:30 game. Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I know
doable.
this show's been a little all over the place, but we should talk about this. Lauren, your boy, he's now missing a hip. Matthew Nyes.
I know. Worse for wear.
I all the injections in the world over the next 48 hours.
Someone get that boy some Toradol.
I do want to say I had a lot of beef with the way Berube was deploying him in the second half of this game because he couldn't skate. Nyes straight up couldn't skate. But so Berube takes him off the power play, which okay. But if Nyes is good enough to skate 5-on-5, why can't he stand in front of the net? I don't like. How are you judging that he's healthy enough to skate around back and forth, play defense, still kill penalties, but you're not letting him go stand in front of the net on the power play? I do have
if he's already in pain and he gets a cross check conveniently placed on the hip, he will not be skating off the ice. I would rather that.
Then why is he killing penalties?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. If he's that hurt, then don't play him on special teams. And we're going to talk about special teams in its own segment. That's what I'm saying.
If he's that hurt, don't play him at all.
Yes, that's true. But it's not like, okay, when Leon Draisaitl was playing on literally a broken ankle, he can just stand there and shoot, but Matthew Nyes doesn't have a spot to shoot from, right?
Mm-hmm. He's not going to beat a goalie clean from 30 feet out very often.
No, he, like you said, he gets in front of the net.
He's not Simone Benoit.
Occasionally gets, he Future Conn Smythe winner, Simone Benoit.
Has Simone Benoit beat a goalie clean in his life?
Yeah, against the Sens.
That was way through traffic and it got deflected off a defender though. One-on-one with a goalie, just shooter versus goalie. I wonder if Simone Benoit has ever beat a goalie clean.
You know what? He needs to get a penalty shot in Game 7. Put up a penalty shot.
Oh my god,
dude. Hey, I want to. There was the one chance, I think it was against Ottawa, where Brandon Carlo had a breakaway.
Yeah.
It's Game 7. I don't care what happens. I want just whatever to work.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Tanev tried to take it up the half wall and he put a shot on that. I mean, it went wide. Hello, Potato.
He had a rush chance that almost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Whoever wants to score can score. I'm happy with that. It's game, like you said, it's Game 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Joe Woll wants to get a goal, by all means, make it happen.
Joseph Woll scores.
Oh my God, Joseph Woll goalie goal.
I'm
getting a Woll jersey.
I'm buying every jersey in signed, home, away, reverse retro. I'm buying it all.
St. Pat's, let's go.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Shout out to some of the peeps in the chat. Karen Nelson saying congratulations. Well, we haven't won anything. Jeff Roberts.
Congratulations, you forced Game 7.
Let's go.
Jeff
Hang
Roberts
the banner.
Saying here for the vibes. Love to see it. Love to see the vibes from chat. Yeah, man. Who's hyped? Miles Tech told you Leafs in 7. Beauty.
Yeah.
William was holding the puck too long all game. Looked unsure. I mean, so we're 20 minutes into this. Let's really quickly break down we've talked about the game kind of as a whole. Yeah. Obviously, there was no score for the first 40 minutes. Oh, Jesus Christ. But the Leafs did we can use this to go into the next segment. The Leafs did take a significant amount of penalties again tonight. Mm-hmm. And once again, they get a power play and then take a penalty in that power play to force a 4-on-4. And then end up having to go on the PK. For what feels like the 100th time this series. So the Benoit interference is killed off to start, obviously. I'm just going to say what the penalties were, and then we'll break them down. Right. Okay? And then OEL takes a trip literally 3 minutes after that with 10:50 to go. But the PK looks good. And we're going to obviously talk about the special teams as an entire entity here. And then the Leafs get a couple power plays. They get a too many men because Florida was flagrant 6 men on the ice, far down in the zone. And then, of course, Auston Matthews takes a high stick after taking a high stick that didn't get anything. And that PK gets killed off. Ekblad took a penalty, an interference penalty with 3:30 to go. They needed to score. They couldn't get anything done. And then the last penalty in the game was the Carlo hooking with 11:11 to go. And right after that was when the insurance goal happened. So, the penalties themselves, they were only, 4-3 essentially, or 4-3, 4-2. So still surprisingly, the Leafs taking more penalties against Florida, despite the fact that our players are quite literally getting injured frequently and not getting any calls for any of them.
my problem with the penalty, I should clarify, like, the refs were awful, but
Yes.
I'm not saying that to say that the Leafs shouldn't have had 4 penalties. All of the Leafs penalties were absolutely penalties.
Yes, and justified.
Now, the Carlo hook at the end, that's maybe a little soft for the third period of Game 6 of the second round when one team has already taken more penalties than the other. But my bigger problem is you cannot convince me. So one of them is a bench minor, right? Too many men. And then Kachuk gets an unsportsmanlike at the end of the game because he just decided to punch Joseph Woll in the face, I guess. Aaron Ekblad, minor for interference. You cannot convince me that that was the only infraction the Panthers committed tonight.
No.
I mean, Matthews had to go to the room because he took a high stick off the face-off.
Yeah, Barkov high stick was an obvious miss, but the bigger one is the Panthers, every single dump-in, get away with holding an interference.
Yes.
And they're never going to call it, but just once, I would like for them to.
Yeah, the Leafs and the Panthers, like they both of them are now we're in a situation where both of them are sort of, I mean, quite literally now going to Game 7. Both of them are on the edge. Both of them, you lose this game, you're done. So now you're cheating for every opportunity. You're going to try and hook a little bit. You're going to try and hold a little bit. That's just how it goes. And for whatever reason, I don't know if the Panthers are less obvious about it. The Leafs are too blatant with it. I don't know what the reasoning is, but it does seem like they get grabbed for it more often. Not incorrectly, as you said, Zach. Not incorrectly. These are penalties. They are infractions. They should be called. But it just seems like there are two separate, what's the word I'm looking for? Like two separate qualification standards. That's the word.
Yeah.
Intentional or otherwise. I don't even mean to say it's done intentionally, but for whatever reason, it does seem to be that way. Again, maybe the Panthers are just better at hiding it, and maybe that's something the Leafs need to work on before Sunday. Maybe that's all that's practice tomorrow is how to take a penalty without taking a penalty.
Dear Santa refs.
The cynical version, like, okay, there's two versions. The optimist version is, yes, the Panthers have figured out a way to just get away with more stuff, right? You know, Paul Maurice is their coach. They're going to commit a lot of infractions, but you can't call everything.
Yep.
The cynical version is you play in Toronto. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spotlight, like, for better or worse, there's a bigger spotlight on the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have, like, it's the center of the hockey universe. Everyone hates on them for a reason because they're so popular. And with that popularity comes the NHL being like, okay, Toronto Maple Leafs, you cannot let them, like, there's a microscope on these games. The refs know that. So any play that a Leafs player is involved in gets a little bit more spotlight compared to when a Panthers player does it.
Yeah. Well, and a really good example of that is like how Calle Jarnkrok got pulled down at the beginning of the third period. Like, fully hauled down, nothing.
Could have been a breakaway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Could have been a penalty shot.
Yeah. And that's happened to the Leafs in the playoffs before, where it's happened to Marner a couple times where he gets a breakaway and doesn't get called. He doesn't get the penalty going his way, right? It's not limited to this series. It just happens.
Do we think that the league views Marner as a bit of a diver?
No, his team
does
isn't
go
Tim
down
Stützle.
easy. But Marner, like, I admit, like, and we can say this because we're Leafs fans, and I'll say this as a fan. Mitch Marner goes down really easy sometimes, and I despise the fact that every time he gets knocked to the ice, he doesn't get up. He doesn't just go back to fighting for the puck. He looks at the ref every time. He's like, "What do you mean? Like, dude, where's the call? Like, stop crying, bro."
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if he's necessarily a diver, but he's a real complainer.
He's a whiner.
And I think, and I think that is just as irritating to the referees of being having somebody in your ear constantly saying, "Why didn't you call the penalty? Why didn't you call the penalty? Why didn't you call the penalty?" It doesn't make you want to call a penalty on them. It makes you want to do the opposite. You're just human.
Yes, I was gonna say Michael Bunting, like, who literally got shoved by a ref and was like, "That was crazy."
Yeah. And then, or as Conrad puts out in the chat, Kadri too, back in the day, right? Like he got, like once Kadri's reputation was shot, it was gone. He never got another call again. Bunting, when his, like one day he just woke up and the calls were gone. Marner's just, Marner can draw calls when he moves his legs. Far too often he'll get knocked down just because he's not skating. He'll just stand still and take a hit and then complain.
I will say
and then he gets up and he's like, come on,
arms above
you
the
see
head.
his arms.
He's like he's doing
arm
the
out,
wave.
He's just trying to get the wave started.
That's it. He couldn't stand the booze, had to get the wave going.
Next year when he's not a Maple Leaf, and he does that at a game at Scotiabank Arena, everybody has to follow it with the wave. People need to get that going.
Oh my god.
Well, if Mitch Marner wasn't in Toronto, he would lead the he's drawn.
Quite probably.
We'll see. We'll see next season.
Like genuinely, I'm at the point with Marner where the Leafs could win the cup, and I'm still not sure he'd come back, or that the Leafs would want him back.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that's a conversation for.
That's a conversation for hopefully next month.
Yes.
So we talk about the penalties, but we didn't actually talk about how the penalties went. Really, like we didn't talk about the special teams themselves. So let's get into that. The power play continues to be awful. Just no good, very bad. Jacob Tutu and the Hooded Fang awfulness. It was very bad. It seems like, despite the fact that if they get if the Leafs get a face-off in the offensive zone, they are 100 times more threatening than if the puck leaves the zone. If the puck leaves the zone on the Leafs power play, they are not scoring. Because they do not have the capability in this series against the Panthers to A, gain the zone, B, continue to hold on to the puck to actually generate anything, and C, cycle the puck. Really. They
barely have the ability to get the puck out of their own end.
Yeah.
I mean, they were better at it tonight, but like we talked about this on Wednesday, it felt like the Panthers were more dangerous on the penalty kill than the Leafs were on the power play. And that's a real problem. Like,
well, and look at the one like semi chance that they had. What was it? First power play, gets over to Matthews, he just puts it on and there's a scramble in front. That was the only semi-threatening thing. Shoot the puck, go to the net. This is exactly like we know Berube has been telling them to do that. So every time we see them just doodling around the outside, that's not what Berube wants them to do. He wants them to just go to the net and shoot the puck. Now, obviously, that is made more complicated when Matthew Nyes is not out there. And as Craig Berube said in his postgame, he's not sure if Matthew Nyes will be able to play in Game 7. That would be a significant challenge because John Tavares, for as much as he is good at deflecting shots in and around the net, he doesn't win battles at the same rate that Nyes does. He doesn't create screens at the same rate Nyes does. So gonna have to, or maybe you just put Patches there and just say, hey, Unk, go stand to the net. But that you got to just get more pucks on net. I will say, as Terry M says in the chat, Auston Matthews is a very streaky goal scorer sometimes, and especially when he's in a down year. Maybe that goal with a classic ripper that we'll talk about in a second will give him some confidence for the power play, but I don't know, man.
Well, and like, we're talking about the special teams here and everything, and one of the really good chances that the Leafs had was on their PK. The Leafs had, like, their power play doesn't look nearly as threatening as their penalty kill does because it feels like they're apprehensive on the power play because it's like they know if it leaves the zone then they can't get it because they just keep trying to do the drop back pass and every time it just shaves off 15 seconds and 15 seconds and 15 seconds. And for the most part, like when the Leafs play the dump and chase game at 5-on-5, they're more likely to get it. None of the guys on the power play are fast enough and strong enough and have the combination of both to get any of the Florida Panthers when they dump and chase on the power play. It just doesn't work.
It's because they're standing. It's not because they can't. It's just because of the way that they do their entries. They all
try to go all at once, essentially.
They have 3 guys on the blue line, and then 2 will enter with speed. So then if one of them loses it, if Nylander is skating into the zone and then the give and go outshoots him and he can't get to the defender fast enough, no one else has the momentum to get in on the forecheck with him. Like we know that Auston Matthews is one of the best in the entire league at puck battles along the boards and at protecting the puck. But if he's standing still at the blue line waiting for the entry, or if the entry outshoots him, it's not his fault that he can't catch up to the play. It's just the power play as a whole's fault for failing at the entries. Yeah.
And when the power play has looked good and they've gotten entries, it's because it leaves the zone and they don't try to reset up with everybody all over again. They get it and then they wait for everybody to clear the zone and someone just brings it in and just throws it on and hopes for the best.
And you know what killed me is the one time this game they didn't do that. Mitch Marner tried to be direct, and what did he do? He almost iced it, and Tavares had to touch it well off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Because they don't do it. They don't integrate it as a single variable on the power play. It's so predictable.
Yeah.
But
easiest job in the league is penalty kill coordinator against the Maple Leafs.
But
easy.
In the playoffs specifically.
Yeah. The convex side of this is that the PK has been so good. So good.
Yeah.
All things considered. Like, no notes, that every single player has been laying it on the line. Every single player has been making diving plays that have gone their way. They're not being careless, except Matthews had one. He tried to do a spinorama pass, and I was like, didn't we learn our lesson here, fellas? Oh, my God.
Twice in this game. There was one on the PK where Matthews just doesn't get enough on it, and it gets caught. And then at the end of the game, Matthews throws a up the middle. I was like, Auston, what? Like, aside from that final penalty kill in the third period, where it's a 1-0 game and the Leafs take a penalty, everyone is like, oh, boy, here we
Yep, here it comes.
And that was the best penalty kill of the entire season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
single
what
chance, not a single setup, just perfect.
Yeah. The penalty kill in that one in particular, but all game today, was far more aggressive than it has been at a lot of other points in this series. And that's something that has driven me crazy all year, is that when the penalty kill isn't working, it seems very, very passive. They seem to be sitting back, having a very sort of small area that they're protecting in the slot and allowing just way too much to happen. And you look at their power play, and the big problem is everybody challenges them. They don't give them the time and space, and whereas they give everybody the time and space. And today, on that last one in particular, but on all the penalty kills, they took that space away. They challenged them, and the Panthers did not have an answer for them. Yeah. And we know how great this penalty kill can be. It was the best in the league at one point, although it fell off precipitously later on in the season. So if they can stick to this, if they're not going to stay out of the box, at the very least, they need to keep this penalty kill efficiency up.
And I have good news for you, Dominic. You were talking about the aggression. Well, guess who agrees? Craig Berube. After the game, on the penalty kills, 4
Let's
for 4
fucking
night.
go.
We did a good job of killing. We were aggressive. Again, it goes to our 5-on-5 play. We were aggressive, on our toes, blocking shots, all that good stuff. It is just playing on our toes more than anything. Our PK was good tonight, and it needed to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go, boys. Oh, happy Friday. Go Leafs, go. Come on. How can you not believe? Even after everything. And this is what they do. Like,
yeah,
I mean, look, we have the Jedi on one side and the Sith on the other in the screen, because one of you is in blue light and one of you is in red.
Well, but this is also like, this is just the classic, like, this is why we all knew this was going to be a Leafs win tonight, is because why wouldn't they give you hope? That's what they do. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
You think that every Game 7 we've gone in and been like, well, another Game 7 loss upcoming, here we go. No, we go in with hope, because these assholes fill us with hope, and they make us believe every single year just to let us down. So I swear to God, man, don't do it again.
No, but let's be real. They played the last 3 games. Like, they lose in overtime and then they lay a couple just awful games. They do. Mm-hmm. And in fairness, a lot of Leaf fans, like, I was at the Jays game on Wednesday with some people that I know, some work people, and I left at like the bottom of the 8th because I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat the Leafs traffic. And then as I'm leaving, I check and it's 6-0, and I'm like, huh? Actually, no, it was 5-0. It was 5-0 at that point. And I'm like, I get outside the Sky Dome and I like walk down the bridge, and there's like hundreds of Leaf fans. And I was like, oh, no. And so there are a lot of people, myself included, that went into tonight being like, oh, yeah, they might force Game 7, or they'll just get one more win than they did against the Panthers a couple years ago, right? And so for them to come out and actually win tonight, great. Do it again.
Yeah. This morning when I got up, I was feeling really down about the game and about the team, and I sort of begrudgingly put on a Leafs shirt. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just support them to the bitter end. But I was all day when people would ask me, oh, how are you feeling about the Leafs? I'd say I want them to put me out of my misery. I want them to just end it tonight. I don't want it to go for another round. But as the day went on, I could just feel this feeling growing in me of maybe, and it got to the point where the puck dropped. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And my hope is that I don't look back on this moment now like Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame. Don't do that. Don't give me hope. That's really where we're at this point.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Game 7's
right?
going to be wild.
It's going to be great. It's going to be good hockey. It'll be in Toronto. Especially if the Leafs score first, the roof is going to blow off. Right? Let's be real, man. We can talk about the Leafs winning now because it is a possibility. You have to win 3 to get to be able to win Game 4, and neither team has won 4 yet. So it really is still, it is a very complicated poker game.
If the Leafs win on Sunday in Toronto, do all those people that threw their jersey on the ice get them back? Will they just sort of find them and throw them back into the crowd?
But you know what, though? Speaking of that, the Leafs owe the home crowd a game.
Yep.
Because you laid the biggest egg on home ice in the playoffs of this generation. And now, aside from the 2020 Game 5 against Columbus where there was no one in the building, or Game 7 where there was basically, against Montreal where there was basically no one in the building, you owe every single if anyone's brave enough to have gone to Game 5 and also go to Game 7, the Leafs owe you. They owe you and again, we talk about legacy. Sunday night is about a legacy, and this is the culmination of 9 years of the Core 4 experiment, and that needs to be the best game that any one of those players has played in their entire lives.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, let's use that to springboard over into the third period, shall we? Because we're going to talk about all of those players that needed to play well and did tonight. Before we do that, there's a whole bunch of people in the stream. Thank you for being here. Again, Lauren, we have Zach and Dominic. If you could hit like and subscribe, if you could share this with another Leaf fan friend of yours. Leafs are going to Game 7, baby. Let's go. So obviously, going in to Game 7 and going into tonight, the biggest news and the biggest noise, which has been the popular word this week around the team, has been the fact that our superstars have not shown up in this series, really in the playoffs. And they had that one really unbelievable goal against the Sens where Marner essentially, without even looking, passes it to Matthews and they score, and it was beautiful. But that was really the only meaningful moment that they had given us in the playoffs so far. That was worth remembering. And so tonight, for Matthews to actually get the game-winning goal, to be able to put them up 1-0, to come through in the third period with 13:40 to go in the third period, keeping their season alive. You have to imagine, and his celly was so anticlimactic, right? You could see he wanted to do more, but he was just he restrained himself. It was great.
Because it was simultaneously excitement and relief. You could see it on his face. He's like, "Let's go! Oh, thank God! I got one. Finally a shot went in, and finally a classic shot went in. We talk about the first one against Ottawa. That's Marner setting up Matthews, and Allmark is literally at the wrong side of the net. It's a hilarious screen grab, and then his Game 6 goal against Ottawa was sliding at a snail's pace into the net. It was just a seeing eye perfectly placed pass essentially, and this was the first shot, real shot that he just beat a goalie clean on.
Yep.
And man, if that doesn't fill him with confidence, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean that line just looked better to start this game. They looked dangerous. They were creating opportunities. They were having chances, and when he got the puck and came in over the blue line, comes up to where he shoots the puck, it looked different. It felt different. When it went in, it was that's how it's supposed to be. That's been what's been missing all playoffs. And when that happened, you're it was a combination of celebration and like relief that like, oh, it can still happen. It's not something that he's forgotten how to do. It's not something that we won't ever see again. This is a reality. This is still a threat. Let it continue to be so.
Yep.
Yeah, and for Mitch too to get the assist on it, like, because
I mean, so much of the
because it
talk
has been
was
so much
you
noise
break them
about
up.
both of them, about how they are
Yeah.
game 5, 6, and 7. In the games that matter, they don't show up, and so tonight, I mean, that's one game. If you win on Sunday, you're halfway there. You've won nothing. You've made it to the Eastern Conference Final. Congratulations. Like, you gonna hang a banner for that? Like, no, of course not. Like, the expectations are higher than that. But the whole
What you think going up against Jacob Slavin will be easier?
oh my God, and Freddie Anderson, who is apparently now the goalie that you always needed him to be.
The ghost of Christmas
Conveniently,
past.
yeah. And
I mean, Carolina is like one of the best defensive teams in the league. So
Oh,
like, it's not
100%.
going to get easier.
Yeah.
It doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
by all means.
the other thing we should mention is like great moment for Matthews. Steps up, he drags this team to a Game 7. Auston Matthews, 0 career Game 7 goals. Mitch Marner, 0 career Game 7 goals. John Tavares, he has 1 in a 5-1 loss to Boston, and Willie, he has, I believe, 1 in a 3-1 loss to Montreal. These guys have not shown up in Game 7, so...
Didn't he get one last year against Boston in Game 7?
Yeah, sorry, he got one last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still, not great.
they didn't
Well,
have
that
Max
one was
Pacioretty
good.
last year.
For all the Game 7s that they played, you'd hope that they'd have like a couple more.
So yeah, like of all the Game 7s, you have 1 clutch goal from the core 4, and then it was immediately undone by the 4th line being terrible.
Yeah. As you said earlier, this is legacy. This is their chance to step up. This is their chance to rewrite their story, and you know, you just have to hope that the ghosts of their past don't get to them, because that's been a big part of their problem. You go back to the 2021 series, and there's that great clip in the documentary of Paul McLean saying they see monsters everywhere they look. They see ghosts everywhere they look.
Yeah.
That's what they're afraid now, and you hope that the game they played here tonight, can inspire some confidence to carry that forward and push them through to the halfway point.
So that's key, right? Like, there's no going around this. There's no avoiding this. All of the ghosts and the demons from your past are now waiting for you Sunday night. Like, you are going to be locked in a steel cage with them, hell in a cell. There's no way around. You just have to go through them. So prove to yourself that you can do this, prove to the city that you can do this, and prove to the hockey world that you are beyond the memes.
Yeah, and that is the opportunity that lives in front of them, right? And you've taxied down the runway and gotten off and went back to the gate several times now, and the flight is leaving. The flight's leaving. It's leaving with or without you, right? Like, you're either going to finish what you've done, because you have now, the captain has done the thing that he hasn't been able to do in years past, and score meaningful goals in games where they were a do or die moment. That is not something that Matthews has been able to do, and he did it tonight. Great. You're going to need to do it more, and if you're going to be the captain of this team, an original 6 team, your first season, you have an opportunity to make such a big difference for your legacy, like you said, Zach. And it's I hope that they are excited, and I hope that they realize that, like, Sunday will be the hardest game they've ever played.
Yeah.
Probably ever. And credit where credit's due, they played well tonight, and you're going to need to do that more on Sunday, and you're going to need to play better, because Florida's going to be better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
they
can't
won't
be
miss the
afraid
knockout
of the game
times.
the way they were on Wednesday.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. So let's make sure you get your questions down in the chat, so that when we go into the overtime period here, we can get to those. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you make sure you tell some of your Leaf friends that we're going to be live after the final game on Sunday, no matter what happens, no matter if we're going to the Eastern Conference Final or if we're doing a eulogy like was happening the other night. I'm glad that we didn't have to start the weekend off this way. You know, we have something to look forward to, and it's an exciting look forward to.
Because why would you get to enjoy your May long when you can an anxious, riddled mess the entire time?
I don't think. Are you going to be anxious?
Are you not?
I mean, I'll be I'll be anxious in the hour leading up to puck drop, but I think about other game sevens. The worst game 7 to me will always be the Montreal one, and I remember that day we were still in some sort of lockdown in Ontario. You could only go out, you couldn't go into a restaurant. You could get takeout, but that was it. And I remember it was a nice day. It was like a beautiful day, and I went and I got some Popeyes for takeout. And I was out wearing my Leafs jersey, and I'm sitting there in a park eating these chicken tenders, just feeling so sad because I'm like, no matter what happens tonight, they're not going to win. They've already wasted all of their other opportunities. And for however much doubt there may be lingering going into this game, it doesn't feel like that. So it's better already, and so already it won't be quite the anxious mess that it was in 2021.
Well, 2021 Game 7 was a formality. The second they lost Game 6 in Montreal, that series was over. There was not a soul that was saying the Leafs are going to somehow figure it out in Game 7. We knew that it was over.
It was over.
The 2022 Game 7 against Tampa was probably the most energetic and amped up the Leafs were for a Game 7 in this era. Aside from maybe the first 2018 against Boston where they were up 4-3 after 2, but and they just lost to a better team. And then last year was probably what will be the game in terms of how the game looks on Sunday, where it's just no offense is being generated at all, and whoever scores first will probably win.
Yeah, and that
although
it sort of felt like that a little bit tonight.
Yeah, well, and not to not to take anything away, but didn't Nylander score first in last year's game, or am I misremembering?
He absolutely did. Well, yeah. You know what I mean.
So
it's gonna be low scoring, but
yeah, I know.
I will say, this is last year. We talked about it earlier. Joseph Woll gets hurt, and as his shutout gets ruined at the end of Game 6 where the Leafs force Game 7, he misses Game 7 and the Leafs lose. This year, he gets the shutout in Game 6, no doubt. And he'll be playing Game 7. This feels like the story we were supposed to get last year.
Yeah.
Fairy tales do come true, guys. Fairy tales do come true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it'll be the real life Snow White on Sunday. It'll be one or the other. Okay. Well, there are some questions down in the chat, so let's move over into the overtime period. We're at 50 minutes, which is about a perfect time to start wrapping up the show and get to some questions and do all that fun stuff. Before we do that, again, thank you for being here. Lauren, we have Zach, we have Dominic. We're going to give you where we can find all of that. But in the meantime, if you could just hit like, if you could hit subscribe, if you could follow the Game Over Network. Listen, the Winnipeg Jets are still in it, fellas. They kept it alive last night. The Edmonton Oilers are moving on to the Western Conference Final. It'll be so exciting. We're basically guaranteed at this point, if the Winnipeg Jets get into having a Canadian team get into the final, wouldn't that be miraculous? A double Canadian final would be the best, but obviously, let's get one series at a time. So again, why are you shaking your head? You don't want that?
It's us or no one.
Okay,
if
fair
the
enough.
Leafs aren't the team break the Canadian curse, no one can.
I know, but we are talking about the Game Over Networks. I'm not actually cheering for Leon Draisaitl or Corey Perry, for the love of God. Okay, so
Kasperi
Kapanen, Leaf legend Kasperi Kapanen. Let's move over into the overtime period. Let's take your questions. Let's do all of that. There's already a couple of good ones down in the chat. Who is your Game 7 series winning scorer? And let's assume it's the Leafs, because let's not send that good karma
let's not put that
out to the Panthers.
Pontus Holmberg. I genuinely think it's. I genuinely think it's going to be someone who we don't expect. If we're looking for the storybook finish, it's someone who has who's been basically sort of along for the ride, and is not who you would expect to be it. They'll be the sort of surprise hero along the lines of Simon Benoit scoring the game-winning goal in was it Game 3 of the Ottawa series. So so Pontus Holmberg or backup choice Bobby McMahon.
Okay, Zach, what about you?
So Dom, I fully agree with your assertion of the storybook kind of ending, and that is why I am saying he is going to actually do something for once. Mitch Marner.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
He did it for Connor McDavid in the Four Nations. Do you think he scores it?
No, he is going to score this time. Mitch Marner is going to score the Game 7.
He wants his statue in Maple Leaf Square. That's what he wants.
How do you want to be remembered?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
At home, man. You said something earlier, Zach, and I didn't want to cut you off, and then Dom, you started talking. I didn't want to cut you off, but the way the game ended the other night, I don't think that he wants that to be his legacy either. Like, do you think he really wants to let his last memories of playing in the uniform that he loved as a child, that he loves now, to be booed off the ice in the playoffs? Like, no way, man.
You know what the best part is? If Mitch Marner goes out and delivers a legacy performance in Game 7, scores a series-winning goal to send the Leafs to the conference final.
Oh.
In overtime.
Oh.
Everything he's ever done, forgotten.
Yeah.
In the past.
Yep.
We're done with that. We're back to loving Mitch Marner if he does something crazy.
That's all it takes, man.
Or that Game 5 winds up being remembered as like a turning point, right? Like I always.
Yeah.
Growing up, we always hear about the 1972 series between Canada and the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And Game 4 of that series ends with Team Canada being booed off the ice in Vancouver. And Phil Esposito gives this interview where he's like, "We're out here trying our best. I don't know what to tell you. It really hurts to be booed off the ice." And then he comes back. They win the series. Phil is a big part of that. He helps set up Henderson's goal. And that's sort of remembered as a turning point. So maybe that awful, no good, terrible Game 5 where half the building left and the other half was throwing their jerseys on the ice is finally the thing that got these idiots to wake up and win the damn thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know who I want it to be? I want it to be Steven Lorentz, baby.
Yeah.
Against his former team, against the team that he won the Stanley Cup with, hometown boy on a 1-year contract. He would re-sign in a heartbeat if he does that. Like, and he's been so good. He's played so well the whole series. Like, he's gone out with so much effort. He's always so noticeable in terms of his play on the ice. He's good on the PK. I love that man.
Lorentz is the fourth liner for the Leafs for the next 5 years. There's there is a 0% chance that he leaves. Like, he'll get give him $1 million over 5 years for all I care.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so down with that. Keep him forever. Isn't it funny? Like, because again, it's not even like he does all this stuff where he's scoring goals all the time. He just plays with so much heart, and he always plays with so much effort, and he makes smart plays. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
Yeah. All right. Great. So, who comes in, Robertson or Camp? Robertson, because he was scratched.
Yeah, and also,
actually, there's your game-winning goal scorer.
Yeah, I said that earlier too.
Yeah,
we'll say though, like Robertson, just because if Nyes is out, you need offense.
Yes,
it's not like if it was Scott Lawton was injured and he's not playing Game 7, then it's David Kampf. But because it's an offensive role that you need to replace, it's going to be Robertson. I imagine the top line will be McMahon, Matthews, Marner. It'll be probably Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander, much to Lauren's chagrin, and then Pacioretty, Domi, Robertson.
Yeah,
brace yourself.
I'm down with
but
that.
At least you're on home ice, so you can shelter them.
Yep.
And
Patches has been good, man. He's gotten so good. The more the series has gone on. The other question from OKO, the other question from OKO Digital just before that: if Nyes can't play, do you keep McMahon up on the first line?
I think you wind up with some sort of like Franken switching.
Yeah,
Frankenline where you're switching everybody around where depending on the situation, sometimes it's McMahon, sometimes it's Pacioretty, sometimes it's Robertson, sometimes it's Holtberg. Like you're just running through different people depending on the situations. And same thing with like all three of those lines, just juggling who that left winger is.
And if you're defending a lead at the end of the game, Scott Lawton will be up on the first line too.
Yeah.
I would rather him than Alex Kerfoot. And that had to happen at one point, right? Like,
Hey, Lauren.
yeah.
Gun to the earth, Alex Kerfoot or Pontus Holmberg?
Alex Kerfoot. Alex Kerfoot. He puts two hands on his stick more.
He also is responsible for the high stick against Tampa in 2022 that gave them a 5-on-3 in Game 6 when we should have won that stupid series.
Yeah.
Also got the overtime goal in what was it, Game 4 of the 2023 Tampa series. So, yeah, he had his moments. He had his ups and downs.
Yeah.
Hey, Max Stone was
More
scoring
downs than
overtime.
ups, but he had an up
overpaid.
occasionally.
He was overpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gun to the earth, Kerfoot or Holmberg. Oh my god.
I do also want to mention this from Kevin Papetti because this made me laugh. Game 6 standouts: Joseph Woll, Auston Matthews, Max Pacioretty. Those USA chants were coming in clutch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were cheering USA for a number of their like teammates that were all Canadian. So
Yeah.
whatever.
The last game,
you win
Carter
some, you lose
Verhaeghe
some.
and
Yep.
Sam Bennett were two Canadians that scored the goals for them.
Yep. You win some, you lose some, huh, fellas? All right. Well, let's wrap the stream up here, shall we? So, game over, Toronto. We'll be back for Game 7. A game we have never had that on this channel. We've never had a Game 7 in the second round. How freaking exciting! Because last time we got just bent over a barrel. It was awful. But
I was gonna say, Lauren, didn't you do a Game 7 last year?
yeah, but not in the second round.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that would have been nice. But yeah, okay, so let's wrap this up. So obviously, this has been Game Over Toronto. If you could hit like and subscribe before you run away. Zach, we have Zach on this side of the screen representing the Sith with his red undershirt looking like a tone. Where can everybody find you, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Zach Payne 41. Also a reminder to, again, like and subscribe as always, but follow the Game Over Network on social media channels as well at the Game Over Network to keep up with all of the streams.
Yes, and you can, and if you hit the little bell beneath, you'll know exactly when we go live on Sunday. Dominic, where can everybody find you?
You follow me at DominicJ25 on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. Trying to use all of them a little bit more, but we'll see about that. And if you've enjoyed Lauren's references to the Jedi and the Sith and you want to talk some Star Wars, you can check out the Star Wars Underworld podcast, which is my other show.
I want you to know I only do that when you're on stream because...
I appreciate that.
I know you do, Ben. I know you do. And like I said, my name is Lauren. You can find me on Blue Sky at Lauren6. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm not really active on there, but by all means, follow me. And like Zach said, make sure you follow the Game Over Network. And make sure, everybody loves Canadian hockey. And you might not be a Jets fan. I'm not. And you might not be an Oilers fan. I'm not. But I still actually like watching their Game Overs because I actually like watching their hockey games and seeing how the other teams are playing because I like to daydream about what it would be like to watch our team play against them. So make sure you go check them out. All of the hosts across all of the network are great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Make sure you give us 5 stars if you are listening. And we will be back on Sunday night after Game 7 of the second round. Toronto Maple Leafs forcing Game 7, coming back home. Will they flop or will they fly? We will be live after the game, no matter what. Have a great night, everybody.